I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. And back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net. And tonight we're reviewing Army of the Dead, streaming now on Netflix. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Dave Dreher, lead news writer at Gruesome Magazine. Dave, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Sausage fest tonight, huh?
Yes, that's one way to put it.
Yeah, you know, that happens sometimes.
I've got so many jokes in my head, I'm not going to say a damn one of them because they'll all backfire. All right, also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
Speaking of grinding a lot of stuff into a sausage,
Yes,
it'll be an interesting review tonight. Yeah, I'm doing well.
That's weird. That was really weird, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's just weird.
I just stopped and I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm a Zack Snyder film.
Oh. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by giving our first impression of the film. Then we're gonna discuss it, and during that time, we will get into spoilers. This is on Netflix. You need to watch it. Book 2.5 hours. Set it aside. Watch it. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. So let's take a look at the card, shall we? All right, Army of the Dead, 2021, Netflix available streaming starting May 21st, 2021. The synopsis is: following the zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. So you think. Directed by Zack Snyder, written by Zack Snyder, Shay, Hatten, and Joby Harold. The cast includes Dave Bautista, Ella Purnell, Omari Hardwick, Ana de la Reguera, Theo Rossi, Matthias Schweihofer. I hope so. Nora.
Are you getting any of those even close to
right? I'm getting worse as we're going along. Garrett Delahunt and Tig Notaro. And it's quite the cast, actually, and a lot of fun as far as the cast goes. Well, we got to talk about the film itself. So what are our first impressions of it? And I am going to start out of order normally because I got to hear what Christopher G. Moore has to say. So Christopher G. Moore, what is your first impression of Army of the Dead, sir?
Let me preface this.
Preface it.
By saying art is subjective. Okay. One person can like a film, and another person cannot like a film. And that's okay. We all have our thoughts on what's possibly good and what's bad. So after I've said that, this film frustrated me more than it entertained me. It's way too long. They could have cut an hour of this and it wouldn't have affected the story, what little story there is in it. It takes all the best parts of stuff that we love and spams it up, as they say. And I don't understand people's fervor or love for it. I think some people call it a big dumb action film, and I love big dumb action films. Shoot 'em Up's like one of my favorite films, and none of that stuff makes sense. It's like Bugs Bunny action film. I love, a lot of Bad Boys. I love a lot of these films, but I didn't really have as much fun in this. And I think part of it had to do with the style. I think the film kind of overdoes it in a lot of stuff. And I think also, and I don't know if it's just the process of filming a lot of green screen stuff, but there's a lot of use of shallow depth of focus where stuff's really out of focus in the background. And I felt like 80% of it was shot on iPhone portrait mode. And it just annoyed me. And I don't know if it's because of, them doing a lot of green screen. And also Zack Snyder was a DP, so that says a lot there. Now, granted, it has its moments. There's some interesting things like the zombie tiger and that kind of stuff. But I really didn't like the characters. I think that, and as much as I like Dave Bautista, I don't think he was right for this role. And I think some of the moments were just too long. It was like, it took like elements of Michael Bay films. This felt like elements of Armageddon, elements of Doomsday, elements of Escape from New York. It's almost like Escape from Las Vegas. There's the elements of the video game Dead Rising, Indiana Jones jokes. I mean, for me, the most interesting stuff, and well, maybe I'll save this for non-spoiler territory, but the most interesting stuff for the stuff that doesn't make sense that possibly ties into the prequels and the other stuff that they're going to supposedly make of this. Supposedly they're going to do a spin-off just on the Safecracker character, which doesn't make sense. So anyway, it's just this sort of group of different characters going in there and doing stuff, and yeah, I don't. And believe me, I think you guys remember when I saw the trailer, I was really excited about this. I was like, this is the film I'm looking forward to. And after watching this, and I hate saying this, but I would rather see a Joss Whedon cut of this than what.
Oh God! You direct all emails to.
I don't know. I think it's too long, and I think they have these moments between the characters that doesn't feel right. And granted, it's the big dumb action film, fine, if you want to call it that. And there's some great moments. There's a great moment involving the zombie tiger later that I really loved. Mm-hmm. But overall, there's just so many great elements of other things that they try to work in, and jokes involving other genres. There's one character who's basically, I mean, it's like elements of Aliens. There's even one of the characters wears the headband like the character in Aliens. So it's there's so many things that just made me realize, oh, I liked Aliens much better. And more power to you if you love this film. That's great. I mean, there's a lot of people that love it and they want to see stuff spinned off for it, and that's fine. I just found this to be kind of boring and long. I kept looking at my watch and wondering, it's like, why are we focusing on these things so much? And they did the little interesting thing with the zombies with ideas, but again, that felt like I Am Legend. I mean, there's like all these great things that are works in so many different other genre pieces that didn't work for me. So I mean, I don't want to be, but again, that's my opinion. 2.5 hours of that is too much. It just felt like more style over substance, but not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Yeah, because I feel like you're feeling the hurt of a Twitter wars out there.
Yeah. I mean, there's people on both sides. There's people that are like crapping on people who like it, and there's people that crapping on people who don't like it.
I know.
It's like we should all have our own opinions, but at the same time, it's like we shouldn't be guilted into liking it or not liking it just because your specific opinion. But me personally, I did not like it.
Did not like it. Yeah, I will say that there is a scene with the helicopter that is straight out of Aliens. Just absolutely rips it off. So much so it's groan-worthy. All right, Dave Dreher, sir, what was your first impression of Army of the Dead?
Groan-worthy, huh, Doc?
Oh,
yeah, it was. Christopher's 100% right. This, as a matter of fact, Doc, if you remember right, even before we watched this, I went 2.5 hours.
I know.
Seriously.
Oh, no.
Now, but with that being said, for me, I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum with this. I thought this movie flew by for me. I mean, I couldn't believe it was. I was like, no, they got the time wrong. There's no way I sat here for 2.5 hours. But, I did. But it's not a great movie, but it is a really fun movie. I had a lot of fun with large sections of this, actually. I think there was some unrealized stuff that they didn't do. I loved at one point, I was waiting for it, and they never went back to it. At one point, they allude to the fact that when these desert zombies get rained on, they come back to life for a few hours. And I thought, oh, that would be really cool to fucking see. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see that. And then nothing. Yep. They say it, and then they walk right past it. And nothing ever happens.
They do that a lot with a couple of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of Chekhov's guns, as they say.
Yeah, yes. Which I thought that was really great. And instead, we get that the rip-off scene, Chris, that you were talking about out of I Am Legend, with them kind of sleeping in the dark. But
that was Silent Hill too.
Yeah, there was some great stunts in this, though, and some really good special effects work. Both CGI and practical effects. The zombie tiger didn't really work that well for me, but I guess it was kind of cool. The same scene that Christopher mentioned there at the end, I thought was well done. But some of it, again, we a couple times it was like, this looks like asylum kind of shit going on. This is
Oh, wow.
This is zombies,
Zombies.
But sometimes they pull
Zombies
it
of
off.
the-
I mean, I don't know what makes the difference there. Why sometimes it works and looks good, and sometimes it don't. I mean, do they spend more money on certain scenes and less on others, or I don't know. I don't know how that all works. But I kind of looked at this movie as kind of like an amusement park ride, and it was a fun ride. I had a very good time with it, but I can see why people don't care for it.
Army of the Zombies. I do not want to watch that movie. All right, so this movie is frustrating because I don't know where to sit with it, because I was okay with it. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was exhausting to watch. It's too damn long. There's too many characters I don't give a crap about. And I don't want to spend that much time with these characters I don't give a crap about. There are scenes that totally don't work and they go on forever, like the I Am Legend scene that you're talking about. I did not like that scene. But yet other scenes work really well. Some of the ideas they throw in there are interesting. And then much like what gets, what the Zeus zombie head pulls out of the zombie lady is half-baked. So there's some interesting ideas that just are left for either never to be resolved or for a prequel or a sequel or an offshoot, and that's like so frustrating. But at the same time, okay, I thought Dave Bautista was fantastic. I really like him, and I thought he was good in here. I like the relationship he had with his daughter, and I mean it drove a lot of the story, and I thought it worked pretty well. I liked the Safecracker and the other one of the three that Dave Bautista, his little tight knit group. I just like, there were, because they start off with the, like the fist pump and they don't do it, and then at the end they do, so that was a nice touch, and I liked that character. I thought he was funny and charming in a weird sort of way, especially after he learns how to shoot zombies, and he's so happy about it. And I like the zombie tiger. I like the zombie horse. There's elements in here. I like that there's a hierarchy to it. But at the same time, I think there was, like I was texting you that Friday night. It's like at one point I was like, "Fuck, there's another hour left." It's like, oh my god, I want to be done. So I really dislike how long this movie is. It's unmanageable, and I'm kind of taken aback by it. I think that to me is what does the film its biggest disservice. I just don't know why it had to be that long. I mean, no, I don't. I was going to come up with one, but I really just don't. So I'm torn because I can look at it and go, okay, I like this, and then there's all these things I didn't like. So I don't know. It's gonna be a rough review for me.
It's a rough one.
I
did like the opening sequence. I thought the title sequence.
Oh, the title sequence. Yeah, I don't know if I thought was
actually quite good.
Yeah, the pre-title sequence, I was kind of like, oh shit, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
But even so, the opening title sequence, Zombieland did it much better.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like this felt like it just felt like all these versions of other things that we've seen, which I can understand if you're a fan of that. You throw little references to things, but like, oh, we'll make a little joke about Indiana Jones, and then later on there's like, to get to the safe, there's all these traps like Indiana Jones. So it's things like that. I mean, I think for me, again, there's like you mentioned the zombies and stuff that come alive supposedly when it rains, and then there's nothing to that. But there's also stuff that I noticed that I thought I was just seeing things, but there's robot zombies in this film. Did you see that?
I did not.
There's
parts robot zombies.
Yeah, there's parts where some of the, like a couple of zombies get shot and their face goes off and there's metal and glowing eyes. And I was like, why are there robot zombies? And then if you pay attention to the very beginning of the film, when those guys, the army guys, are like traveling and there's one guy standing there, there's two UFOs in the clouds that shoot off into the distance.
Really?
And then they're
now I'm gonna have to rewatch this shit.
God
Damn you,
damn,
Christopher.
Yeah. They map out 2.5 hours. But I'm sure there's probably some YouTube videos where they show that. But anyway, but yeah, and then later on in the vehicle, they're talking about maybe there's stuff in Area 51. So now like I'm kind of wondering like if there's that. And then if you notice the scene where they're talking, I guess we're already in spoiler territory, but but the scene where they're like at the safe and they're talking about like I feel there's been people here before this. I didn't know if this was just if they were just showing these bodies to look like the characters. But there's even one of the characters that has a similar necklace like the girl, and even a similar like Hawaiian shirt like one of the people. And so then it makes me wonder if there's a time loop. So then are we going to turn into like a like the Tom Cruise movie where we're where we keep going back? So I'm like, so
live, die, repeat.
Yeah. So there's like all these little Easter eggs of things that of the movie that maybe question is like, why is this here? It's almost like, oh, just wait, we're gonna have like a prequel, we're gonna have this, and we're gonna have these things pop up at some point. But yeah, I mean those kind of things were more interesting to me because I was like, what is this here? But then they really didn't play into that. And then I saw people online talking about it too. I was like, so I'm not freaking crazy that I saw like zombies with like glowing eyes, and then I saw like metal on their face. So that makes me wonder if the government.
I didn't see that at all.
Are these government cyborgs? Are they aliens? And so now it's like there's all these other things that open up these Pandora box of ideas that really aren't in the movie, but tease you to things that to me was more interesting than the
2.5 hours we got.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think any of the emotional moments really didn't work for me. I mean, I think Dave Bautista's he's a good actor. I think we talked about was it My Spy or whatever he was in. I thought he was good. I don't know. There's moments where I think he was trying to really emote, and I think the dialogue and the story didn't really help that a lot. But I don't know. I mean, there was opportunities. Oh, by the way, Dave, you can thank Carol Baskin from Tiger King. Supposedly she was an advisor on how the tiger moved.
Are you serious?
I'm not making this shit up. So it's like even Tiger King is involved, or the show Tiger King is somehow involved in this. So it's like this feels like what is that? What is it? What's the thing in New Orleans where they throw everything in the pot like gumbo?
It's gumbo. Yeah.
This feels like it's got the frog, it's got the cyborgs, it's got the aliens, it's got the zombies, it's got every little thing. Let's just throw all this shit in here, and it's all going to taste good. And to me, it's just like it's too much, And I think also, I don't know, but you guys, you talked, Dave, you talked about like it flew it flew by really fast for you, but I was annoyed because. They're going to drop a bomb in 9 minutes. And they're like, oh, we got in. Yay. Let's high five. Let's like play. And they're like, oh, we're to the helicopter. Oh, let's look at each other for 10 minutes. Yeah. We made it to the helicopter. Yeah. And I'm like, get the fucking helicopter. Why are we making faces? You're going to die. And so I was getting annoyed with the characters because I think that's the problem that I have sometimes with Zack Snyder. He focuses so much on like creating these slow motion scenes or where we slow down for this one moment. I'm like, no, we need to get moving. And I think the pacing was thrown off because of that. Because you'd have all these scenes that don't really make like when they're talking about like the heist, and then they show them like in their circle shooting and stuff, and it's like all this stuff that's like. This film could have been an hour less if we just took all this extraneous stuff out. That sort of just it just sits there. It just sits there like all the zombies on the ground for me. Somebody pour some rain on it, so it comes to life. And it felt just as undead or pulseless as some of the zombies, And granted, but the main thing is I felt bad for the alphas. Woman, the female zombie,
the queen,
because she had to end up being a zombie wearing heels, and having to run around and jump in heels. So and that makes the new Jurassic Park film seem kind of lame, considering you have this girl's in zombie form and she's still outrunning a lot of the men in her high heels.
Going crazy things. There was a number of things, and you guys tell me if I just maybe blinked and missed it, but things that would get introduced or made, it would become a point, like you said. I think Chekhov's guns, and then they would disappear. Not we wouldn't hear anything about them. Like the saw, right? The big saw was made a big deal of, and we get to see it in the opening credits, and in mid film, it's like nobody touches my saw, right? But then he doesn't get to use it in that way. They do use it, so it becomes important for a particular element of escape, but that's against a wall. I was so frustrated by that. I was so frustrated by the whole thing about, okay, they capture people, right? And they bring them to the Olympus, and they're going to do stuff with them. And I was like, well, I kind of see where you're going, but are you going to flesh that out or anything? Or, what is it? Because it looks like they were using them to try to propagate before they turned them into zombies, right? But I was like, well, what's going on? And then they rescue this one lady, right? They go to all this trouble to rescue the lady, but I never saw her at the end. I have no idea what happened to her. I can only presume, right? I didn't.
I don't even know. I don't remember what happened.
I assume she got on the helicopter, but I never saw.
I think
I never saw her get off.
Oh, well, she did get on the helicopter. I guess she died because then the girl was.
But they never showed it, right?
No.
They never showed it.
We saw everybody else. Well, I did too, but I think we're so invested. They want us to be invested in her. They're trying to save her. That what you go to all this trouble and then we don't even get a resolution to whether she gets up and walks away or not. So that was dumbass. And there's just after another these little things that they throw in here, and just to go off into whatever land, and it just I was a little upset. I will share that Jen watched it. My wife watched it with me. And she absolutely, I think she hates this movie more than you do, Chris. I think she hates this movie more than you do. She absolutely
does. It's like, and I mean, there's some people that are very like belligerent with their hate, but then I've also some people call this like the most brilliant thing ever made, and that Zack Snyder needs to get all the movies he wants made, and he even does an in joke with his Snyder cuts inside the safe. There's like some film canisters at the very back that says Snyder cut on it. So it's like,
But she called them Jurassic zombies because they growled so loud. You're like, they sound like dinosaurs. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, and I was like, what? How are they living? What are they feeding on, or do they need to feed? I didn't like. What do they?
Seem like it? It seemed like it, right?
I mean, yeah, they like will bite into people, but like, do they feed on stuff if they're made from the alpha zombies? I guess you have other stuff that doesn't have a lot of stuff doesn't have explanation behind it, and I think regardless of it being a big dumb action film, a lot of most big dumb action films are very simplistic in their story for a reason, because it's a big dumb action film. You're just there to see shit blow up, wisecracks, cool characters, badass villains, and that kind of thing. And this one, there's like a million ideas thrown out there that just like, it needs to be reined in a little bit, and there's no rein into it, but then I also felt like, I don't know if it's because of just the current world, but I like maybe it wasn't the good thing that this Asian millionaire is supposed to be obtaining this the viral potential of this thing. So
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
I was like, maybe this is not, because maybe this isn't something they should have as a part of that.
They make that whole horrible joke at the beginning with him too. All right, okay. Before we wrap this up, let's let Dave talk to the special effects, because he kind of mentioned them in his opening that that sometimes they felt really good, and then other times I think somebody said they were like.
I think most all the practical effects were very well executed. The stuff that was practical was good. The CGI got shaky at times for me. Sometimes it looked good, and sometimes it did not look good. And again, I don't understand why that is. I don't understand how it can be okay sometimes and look like crap others.
Different teams,
But,
I guess. I don't know.
So
There's a head twist that happens that I thought was really faking
Yes.
me. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, really? You don't like it?
I didn't like it. I mean, it was shocking that it happens, but it looked fake.
Okay.
And so then that it kind of took my shock away. Like, oh, you know what I mean? I was like, it looked, and maybe I was just paying attention too much. But yeah, I mean, I think my problem was just the special effects around, and I don't know if they did this in post, is like there seems to be a lot of scenes where the background is out of focus.
Actually, there's a making of Army of the Dead. I was watching it before we recorded, and he actually addresses that. He used some kind. You should watch it, Christopher. You know what he was talking about.
It looked like
he uses a certain lens to cause that to happen.
Yeah, but it was overused so much that it felt like he was using what they call portrait mode on your iPhone, where it makes your background blur out. Because there was parts where like and it just, normally as a filmmaker you don't overuse that, because then you want to use different shots to sort of elevate certain things or to create a feeling visually. And as a filmmaker, he used it too much to where it was irritating to me. It just felt like, I felt like, oh, I like an old person can't figure out how to turn the cat filter off on your phone, you know? It just felt like that. It was like, okay, stop using this, whatever you're using.
He addresses that on there. I think he even makes some type of comment like, this is going to probably piss some people off. But I like the way this looks.
Well, again, that he was cinematographer, which he actually even, there's an in joke. There's a part where they go into this building and there's this big bulletin of this big billboard that has this magician named Larry Fong. Larry Fong's been his cinematographer. He was a cinematographer in Batman versus Superman. So I thought that was kind of funny that he put his cinematographer in there, even though he was he supposedly he did like the camera work throughout, which, I'll give him props, because as somebody that doesn't like I can't do a good job with camera like my DP does. So I give him props for that he did all that. But sometimes the reason why you don't do all the different things, you find somebody who has a stronger aptitude or ability to do that. And I think that's the problem. When somebody wears so many hats, they end up Lucasing it, where nobody says no to you. And then certain things may not turn out the way that makes for a good story. And I think that's what happened with this. I think when somebody gives you a bunch of money and you have all these tricks and it's like, I'll do all these things, and maybe you did that to save money or something, and that's fine. And you have all these big stars, so you can do what you want. And again, it's got its moments, but I was really disappointed in this, because I was really looking forward to it. I really was hoping this turned out well. And even watching it, I was like, okay, maybe this will get better. And I just got frustrated.
Yeah, because it takes a good half of the film just to get into
and then most of it just takes place in like a hallway.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're still listening, thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying these reviews. Not only this one, but other ones that we have on the site. If you would like to help us, a really easy way to do so is just hit the subscribe button or share with a friend. Either way does a lot.
Sharing is caring, Doc.
Yes, I've heard that before. If you'd like to leave some comments, we want to hear down below, and we've heard them all, so don't worry about it. Just tell us what you want to know. Also, we want to thank our patrons over at Patreon, because without their support, we wouldn't be able to do not only this H&R, but Decades of Horror, Heroes and Droids, and Gruesome Magazine. Thank you all so very, very much. All right, let's do it. I'm going to reverse the order again. Dave.
You're confusing us, Doc. Stop it.
I know. I gotta shake things up every once in a while.
Well, you're going to start using a weird lens before we know it.
I'm going to put the little cat filter up. What is your... I am not a cat.
Like Carol Baskin.
Me personally, I had a lot of fun with this movie, but what everyone is saying is not wrong. It's not a great movie. It just isn't. But it did pass much faster than I thought. It is way too long, though. Even with that, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in here. But again, I had a good time with it. I kind of strapped myself in and just went along for the ride. And, it was fun. I'm just going to give it a 2.5, middle of the road. Not bad, not great, just there. And favorite scene is actually Christopher mentioned it, but I just really liked it. That is very Indiana Jones-ish. But the scene when they're in front of the safe and there's the booby traps. But I loved when and again, this is a spoiler, but the final trap. What happens to the poor zombie who's the bait? That was really good. And then the after effects that too, the way they kind of had to work their way past him after that. I just thought it looked really good. It was kind of shocking how bloody. It was a good mix of practical and CGI effects. It kind of worked on all cylinders for me for that particular scene. So it was fun. I really don't understand why people were so divided on this, because like I said, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people are saying, and it's certainly not as good as a lot of people are saying. It's just kind of there. Watch it, have fun, watch some blood fly.
What'd you score again?
2.5.
2.5. Straight up the middle. Straight up the middle. All right, Christopher G. Moore, you've given us a lot to chew on already. So wrap it up with your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
So I think for me the biggest thing that I got out of this was just those elements that I wanted to see more info on. Like why they're cyborg zombies and why they're aliens and and why are you setting up things that don't happen? I think one of the more exciting things that I heard is like, I know that supposedly Zack Snyder talked about they're making a animated prequel thing to it, and they're supposedly they're making possibly another film, and they're maybe a spinoff on the Safecracker guy, which would be interesting. But I'm more interesting. I think there was a site that talked about like if they make another film in this universe that Gigi Saw Gerrera should make it. I would be more excited about her contribution to this, because she's a wonderful upcoming filmmaker that I'd love to see her take on this, put her spin on it. So I would be more interested in that, and other people maybe putting their spin on these elements that they've created. But I think I'm just more interesting in the possibilities or ideas that are trapped within this weird escape room of ideas from better movies than anything else. Army of Dead, more power to you. I have a lot of friends on my Facebook and Twitter feeds that love the shit out of this film, and that's cool that you had that. I did not have that same feeling. I hope I really don't. I mean, there's scenes I might rewatch. I actually probably would have picked the safe scene if Dave hadn't stolen it as my favorite scene, because I really enjoyed that, even though, again, it's ripping off Indiana Jones, but still was a fun scene nonetheless. But yeah, I think overall there's just so many ideas thrown into this blender of a movie that don't work as a good taste together, and don't constitute to create anything outside of it. And it's too long, really. I mean, that's what editors are for, to turn something, Dave as a chef, you don't just make this, you don't put the slab of meat out there. You do all kinds of things to it before you present it to the person as a cooked meal. And that's what this film needed. You need a little bit longer in the microwave for if you want to cook it. You need to cut it up into cubes, or you need to turn it into hamburger meat and do something else with it. But as it is, it's just a big slab of a million different ingredients that don't really work together. And it did not work for me. More power to you if you enjoyed it. That's awesome. That's the cool thing about art. One person can like Motel Hell and one person can hate Motel Hell. So as for rating, I'm going to give this... I'm probably going to get a lot of hate about this. I'm going to give it a... How low can I go? I'm going to give it a 1. I'm going to give it a 1.25.
Wow, that's pretty goddamn low. All right,
that is low.
I I can understand what went into creating it, but this film felt like somebody would. I felt like Clockwork Orange. I felt like I had to put things on my eyes, to really keep watching it.
Wow. Yep.
I feel bad for giving that
No,
one.
no, don't feel.
I'm
Don't
just
feel
my
bad.
first impression, and I went up to it. We all can't like the same stuff,
Yeah.
The world would be a boring place if we were all the same.
Yep. Did you give us a favorite scene?
That's why Dave can be like so dismissive of the last film we reviewed for Hard Days Radio, which I love, and see how we flip flopped here.
Yeah.
As for favorite scene, if I can't steal the safe scene, I'll say the tiger kill scene.
Yes.
That was good too.
Which I mean the way that thing ends and stuff, the way it's playing with that guy like a toy. I was like, damn, I do not want to be killed by a tiger if that's how I'm gonna go out, because that tiger's messing him up before he's doing what the editors should have done to this film. So it's sort of like cut it up in the right way before you serve the head of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my favorite scene. And again, this film has its moments.
Yep,
it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that Valentine took a bite out of that guy at the end. That was really awesome. All right, so I'm, like I said at the beginning, I'm torn about this because there are things I like, there's a lot I don't like, and I think the more we talk about it, the more I realize there's more I don't like. Because I'm sitting here thinking about what do I want to pick as a favorite scene, and while there are interesting scenes, I'm not really sure there are scenes that elevate to be favorite. There's not many. There's a cool shot here, there's a cool idea there, but I don't, as a scene, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure that they do. So that's kind of telling me that maybe I didn't like this movie as much as I thought or wanted to, right? Because I really wanted to like this movie. I liked the idea. The whole concept, and I was wondering, like, how would they do an outbreak that's just confined? And I thought they handled that interesting. And it does have that Escape from New York feel in that respect, right? Except for instead of the president, it's just money. Yeah, so it's down to greed. So it follows the same kind of structure like the Dirty Dozen does, right? And that's also like a really long film, but there's more to that kind of film. It's this doesn't have that element in the elements in place correctly, and it just, I don't know. They introduced a new element with the zombies, and I like that they introduced a new element, but I don't think they established that element in a way that made anything of interest, right? If you go back, for example, like if you go back to Return of the Living Dead, we really hadn't seen talking zombies before, right? But then we did, so they made that an element. Here we have these more thinking zombies, and we've had other zombies that could articulate and plot and plan, but not on this kind of archaic level or chaotic level. And that was interesting, but so what, right? So what? And like Christopher said, for me, the same way. I'm more interested in the idea, the germ of the idea, than what was established from it. And in some cases, nothing was, right. It just, and there you go. That's it. See ya. Let's go on to the next thing. So, at the same time, I think by comparison, Snyder's direction itself was more restrained than we usually get. While it did have the slow-mo and stuff like that, it didn't go to some of the lengths that we've seen before, which have become kind of parody at this point. It's more of a style than this bombastic thing. So as far as the make of the film itself, I really liked it, and I didn't realize he was the DP. I thought it looked great too. Although I don't know if I understood the distance between the two different hotels that we're talking about, because at one point it seemed like they were really close. Another point, it seemed like they were like, like not even in the same damn city. And it's like, come on, Vegas, Anyway, that aside, that's just a small nitpick that's piled upon a lot of other small nitpicks that total up to, I was originally going to give this a 3. I can't do that now that we've talked about it. I'm gonna go down to 2.75. I feel like I want to go further. Isn't that terrible?
It's not terrible though.
It is. But favorite scene. What could be a favorite scene? My favorite scene is when they're trying to get out of the hotel after they're trapped, and we're kind of down to the last couple of people, right? And they're going through the actual casino part, and you've seen in the trailer where he's running across all the casino tables and everything. It really had this sense of urgency then, and chaos, and the zombies were everywhere, and they were, he was really badass then. He was, killing them left and right. It was that, I think that was really the only time that I felt the energy that the opening credit sequence promised. That fire them up, and that that they kind of also teased us when they were talking about the plan, right? Because they were all like in a circle, and we never really got that, right? So this was the only time it did, and I really enjoyed it because it also had that slow motion things in it at times, and things happen to certain characters, so it worked out really well, I thought.
Did I read somewhere too where they said that I can't remember her name, the helicopter pilot Tig something or other.
Tig Notaro.
Yeah, she was not originally in the film.
She was like digitally added like after the fact.
All of her scenes were in front of a green screen. She didn't interact with any. She's never met Dave Bautista.
I would never have known that if somebody hadn't told me.
I think they did a great job of interacting. I mean, you can sort of notice a little bit of a halo in certain scenes.
Only if you know and you're looking for it.
Only if you're looking for it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it seems very obvious during the chain link fence scene, because I feel like they use that as a way to
that could be that I'm in. No, I'm in that whole scene.
Although let me just say one more thing. You talked about like the scene with Dave Bautista. The thing that really infuriated me, you have the one female character who's fighting her way out of all those like zombies, and they just sit there and let her die. And I'm like, I've never been so mad.
Oh yeah, when she
it's like
the window and then they won't go save her.
She fights her way out of all this shit that this guy put her in, and they're all like, they're basically all in the same room, and they're not trying to save her. I was like, ugh. I think at that point I was like, I was just getting mad at a lot of the decisions and stuff.
Well, it makes sense to be fair, the one trader guy was the one saying, "No, she's dead. We got to get on." He wanted to make sure that she didn't make it.
Well, there's the one there was like this long scene.
I know.
If she's dead, it's like this long freaking scene. But anyway,
yeah, that whole sequence, annoyed me because it was like, okay, we can't walk down the street. We have to go through the things. And it leads to that scene, and then that's the last time you're in a building, and then they're walking down the street. Like, okay, what the hell did you do that for?
Well, it's like, but then they're using like little glow sticks which emit light, but they're still using their flashlights. So what you just use your flashlight to move around? I don't know. There's like so many logic things that I shouldn't worry about to the forefront, because a lot of stuff doesn't make sense and it's not explained. But yeah. But anyway, if you can look past that was cool. I just couldn't turn my brain off.
All right, well, there you go. I think we could complain for another hour.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know a lot of the stuff I've said has been very jokey. I don't necessarily despise this film. I just was very frustrated with the way it came about. So, and I am glad that some people can really get some enjoyment out. So, there are some
people that are adamant. rather
people that are just hard
famous people too, right?
And it's got a nice diverse cast of different people, a lot of strong female characters and stuff. I loved that part of it. But
it's got the elements. It's got the
it's got the ingredients.
So I will be curious if you're, what you listening think of it. Which side of the camp are you on? I'd be curious.
Yeah, it's very divided out there. There's so much hate on both sides. It's like
it's crazy. So that's the
you can
internet for you.
Dislike stuff, but don't hate on each other.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. Christopher, Dave, thank you for joining me. I had to, even though it felt like we pooped on the film, and Dave didn't. Dave did not poop on the film, but we did.
Not true. You didn't poop on it too bad, Doc. You pooped on it a little. But not
well,
bad.
I actually gave it a higher score than you, but you talked better about it. So that's interesting. But anyway, I still enjoyed the conversation, and I hope our listeners did too. Thank you all very much.
Fake Doc.
Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.